When Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones passed away in 2021, it wasn't just another loss in the world of music, it felt like the heart of rock and roll itself had skipped a beat. Fans were devastated, and many were puzzled when Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood were nowhere to be seen at his funeral. But the truth behind their absence and the story of Charlie's life was far more complex than anyone first imagined. For most of his career, Charlie Watts had been known as the quiet one, the steady hand who balanced out the chaos of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards' hard-living lifestyles. But by the mid-1980s, that calm exterior began to crack. Around 1983, Charlie slipped into a dark period of heavy drinking and drug use. Unlike many rock stars, it wasn't about chasing highs or living the wild life. Instead, as he later admitted, it was his way of coping with personal and family struggles. He confessed, "They were my way of dealing with family problems. I think it was a midlife crisis. All I know is that I became totally another person." Around 1983 and came out of it about 1986. "I nearly lost my wife and everything over my behavior." His wife Shirley, who had been with him long before the Stones became famous, nearly walked away during those years. But Charlie eventually realized he was on the brink of losing not just his marriage, but himself. By the late 1980s, he pulled himself together and even gave up smoking, a huge step for a man who spent decades performing under the punishing demands of life on the road. In June 2004, tragedy struck again when Watts was diagnosed with throat cancer. Fans were stunned. He underwent months of radiotherapy before the cancer finally went into remission. When he returned, Mick Jagger told him, "We'll only record when you're ready." True to that promise, the Stones waited patiently until he was strong enough. In 2005, he rejoined the band to record a bigger bang, and remarkably, he launched into a grueling 2-year world tour soon after. Charlie himself later joked, "It seems that whenever we stop, I get ill. So maybe I should just carry on." By 2021, however, his health began to falter again. On 5 August of that year, the band announced he would miss the U.S. No Filter tour after undergoing a medical procedure widely reported as heart surgery. For the first time in nearly 6 decades, he wouldn't be on stage with the Stones. Drummer Steve Jordan, a close collaborator of Keith Richards, was brought in to temporarily fill his shoes. Sadly, just weeks later, on August 24, 2021, Charlie Watts passed away at the Royal Brompton Hospital in Chelsea, London. He was 80 years old, taken by squamous cell carcinoma. In his final moments, there were no cameras, no fanfare, just the quiet presence of his family. The news shook the music world. Mick Jagger shared a photo of Charlie laughing. Keith Richards posted an image of a drum kit with a closed sign hanging from it. Ronnie Wood spoke about their brotherhood. Even Bill Wyman, who had left the band decades earlier, called him a beautiful man. Tributes poured in from across the music world: Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Elton John, Pete Townshend, Brian Wilson, Roger Daltrey, Brian May, Liam Gallagher, Chad Smith, and countless others honored him not just as a drummer, but as a true gentleman of rock. Charlie's funeral was held quietly in Devon, small, private, attended only by close family. And here lies the mystery: why weren't his bandmates there? At the time of his death, the Rolling Stones were in Boston, deep into final rehearsals for their long-delayed No Filter U.S. tour. Canceling or even pausing was nearly impossible. The tour involved hundreds of crew members, massive stage setups, lighting teams, and months of planning. Any delay would have caused a financial and logistical disaster for everyone involved. There were also strict travel restrictions in August 2021. With the Delta variant of COVID-19 spreading, flying from the U.S. to the U.K. meant mandatory quarantines both ways. If Jagger, Richards, or Wood had attended, they risked canceling the entire tour before it even began. Most importantly, Charlie himself would not have wanted a spectacle. He had always hated fuss and valued privacy. Friends close to him said the simple, quiet ceremony in Devon was exactly what he would have preferred. Instead, the Stones honored him their own way. Every night of the tour, shows began with a moving tribute video of Charlie at his drum kit. Their iconic tongue and lips logo was turned black and white as a symbol of mourning. Jagger often paused during concerts to speak emotionally about his friend. Richards' drum kit photo and Jagger's smiling portrait of Charlie became global symbols of remembrance. Charlie Watts' journey with the Stones began in the early 1960s. Already a respected jazz drummer in London, he was hesitant to join a scrappy rhythm and blues band that couldn't pay him much. but in January 1963, he took the leap. His first official performance with the Stones came on February 2, 1963 at the Ealing Jazz Club. From that night forward, he became the steady heartbeat of one of the greatest bands in history. He wasn't just a drummer. Watts was also a visual artist who designed early album covers and stage sets. In 1975, he even masterminded the famous Rolling Stones press stunt in New York, where they performed Brown Sugar on a flatbed truck rolling down Fifth Avenue. For decades, his drumming was the foundation of the Stones' sound. Simple, precise, always in service to the song. He never missed a single concert. His final live performance came on August 30, 2019 in Miami, just before the pandemic shut the world down. Away from the spotlight, Charlie Watts lived a very different life from his bandmates. He married Shirley Ann Shepherd on October 14, 1964, and they remained together for 57 years until her passing in 2022. They had one daughter, Serafina, born in March 1968, and one granddaughter, Charlotte. The Watts family lived quietly at Holborn House in North Devon, where Charlie ran an Arabian horse stud farm. He adored horses, cricket, and art collecting. Unlike many rock stars, he never learned to drive, preferring to admire cars as works of design rather than utility. He built a life of stability and refinement, balancing the chaos of rock with the peace of home. Even after his death, Charlie's presence remained in the Stones' music. In October 2023, the band released Hackney Diamonds, their first album in 18 years, featuring two songs, Mess It Up and Live by the Sword, with Watts on drums. In 2023, his estate launched social media accounts to honor his memory, and rare treasures from his personal collection, like a signed first edition of The Great Gatsby, were auctioned. His love of history, art, and cricket revealed a man whose depth went far beyond the stage. Charlie Watts wasn't just a drummer. He was the quiet heartbeat of the Rolling Stones, the steady hand that allowed chaos to turn into music, and the gentleman who carried himself with dignity until the very end.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.